Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe. Welcome to all the dear listeners in another English practice video. Today I would want to share the story of a brave fighter whose name is Arunima Sinha. Probably some of you might be already knowing her, but her story is too inspiring, very inspiring. I would start the story. So Arunima Sinha, I'm not exactly remembering what her date of birth is, but probably she must be in her early 30s now. So this girl was a volleyball player and she was looking forward to a bright future in sports, and very hardworking girl, very brave girl. So once she was returning to somewhere, maybe to her home via train, and probably the compartment in which she was traveling was either general compartment or maybe the sleeper class, but a very big tragedy happened in her life on that traveling day. uh, she faced some bad guys inside the train. Probably they were robbers or just these goon kind of people, like very bad ones. So she had a fight with them over some issue or whatever. I am not exactly knowing the details that what the reason was, the quarrel was, but this brave girl, this poor girl that day was thrown out of the train, thrown out of the running train by those robbers or whatever, or what to say them, devils, demons. God will never forgive them. So they threw out this girl Arunima Sinha out of the train, out of a running train, and she lied on the opposite track, and that broke her spine because it's a big force when somebody is thrown out of a running train. And afterwards, and another train passed over her legs, so both of her legs were cut apart from her body, and she had also the spine injuries. And then afterwards she just remained in that condition for a very long period of time because nobody actually came to rescue her. She lost a lot of blood. Of course, she lost her legs, and after probably a lot of time she was admitted to hospital or whatever. Her legs were amputated. They were already cut, but maybe some medical formality was remaining, so that was done. And later on she claimed for to the authorities for whatever things that were to be claimed, like justice, or for like claiming to for those bad guys to be caught. But whatever happened, I don't exactly remember. What I remember when I read her story from Wikipedia, that she was, rather blamed that she was trying to commit suicide. The authorities, instead of giving her the recovery amount or whatever compensation she must get, they rather tried to frame her that she was trying to commit suicide, so as to just escape from that case, those authorities. Anyway, she fought all this, but afterwards, when she got healed somewhat, of course, she had lost her both legs and she had serious injuries in the spine too. But then she could be walking through crutches, maybe, or wheelchair. Then she decided, the heroic thing comes now in the play. Even though she was a volleyball player and was looking forward towards a great future, but both her legs got cut in a very mishappening, in a very grave tragedy. But instead of just going into depression, and of course she must have had her phases of depression also, because when such a you know bad tragedy or such a horrible tragedy occurs to someone, it is not really possible that they don't go through the phases of depression. But then some people choose to stay in depression while other people try to leave that depression and behind them. So our hero Arunima Sinha decided that she is not going to keep crying all her life. Of course, this tragedy had brought a huge void and vacuum in her life, but she tried to fill it. So she decided to conquer Mount Everest, even though she had no legs. She, and then she joined the Bachendri Pal Institute of Mountaineering. And when she told Bachendri Pal, I think you must be knowing Bachendri Pal is the first Indian woman mountaineer who conquered the Mount Everest. So she has this institute which trains the aspiring mountaineers. So when she told Bachendri Pal that she wishes to conquer the Mount Everest, so Bachendri Pal was so impressed that she told to Arunima Sinha that, my dear child, just by having this thought or dream to conquer Mount Everest in a situation in which you are, you already have conquered it. So this was a great boost to Arunima Sinha, and afterwards she trained, and of course she trained ferociously, and she conquered Mount Everest. And later on, Arunima Sinha conquered every highest peak of every continent in the world. So I think there are 7 continents, and the highest peak of every continent has been conquered by Arunima Sinha, who actually has lost her legs in that horrible tragedy. So what do we learn from this story? You know, we have a lot of problems in our own lives, and we rather than moving on from those problems, or rather than doing things, we get stuck. We keep crying over or brooding over those problems. But look at this fighter's life. you know what could be a more unfortunate tragedy? The problems in our lives are, of course, not as grave or as serious as she faced, but look, she chose to fight and not just keep crying and blaming the fate or whatever, or blaming God, or complaining about her life. But she chose to fight. She chose to still pursue her dream. Her dream of becoming a volleyball player was thrashed, but still she did something else with her life. She made something out of her life. She did something that elevated her confidence rather than just blaming her fate. So this story actually inspires me very much, and whenever I think about my problems, my very little problems, and I tend to get into depression because of those problems, I just feel so stupid, because when there are fighters in the world who can face such kind of problems and come out winning, and they make a meaning out of their lives, so why cannot we do something like that? Why, if not up to that extent, why cannot we do things that could bring back the passion in our life? So I would want you go through the story of Arunima Sinha, and just Google it and go through her story. It is very inspiring, and you would be really motivated for life and to do something in life. So thank you again for listening to this whole practice video. So I would say that keep practicing. So Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe, take care. We see each other next time.